Hi, this is Alex Quibido with ProTech Activity Manager. In this video, I'm going to be explaining how ProTech Activity Manager can be used by a cabinet shop, which is my background. Now, keep in mind, this software is made very generic, so it'll work for general contractors managing subcontractors, but then it'll also work for cabinet shops managing their own employees. So I'm going to go through how this is valuable for a cabinet shop managing their employees. All right, so this is going to be the project manager's web version. The first thing they see when they log in is a list of all of their projects in progress. Now, if they want to sort and look at different projects, they can filter through them all. But first thing you're going to see is all the projects in progress. If you click on a project, you're going to see all of your scopes for that project. Now, for a cabinet shop, this would mostly be considered like a workstation. So, for instance, you would have panel processing, edge banding, doweling, sorting, assembly, countertops, installation, so on and so forth. Now, if you click on a scope, you're going to have all of the tasks required to complete that scope. So, let's say we click on panel processing. So you would have Group A, Group B, Group C. We broke all of our projects into groups that would fit into a semi-truck fully assembled. And so for us, that's what we would have. This would be our groups. So to build out a new project, you're going to come to Projects, click on Create New Project, Create New Project. And so you enter your project name, your customer name, working days and hours, that's more for subcontractors and vendors. You really don't need anything there. Picks after completion. If you want to get that from your shop, you can. Most of that as a lead time notification task. A lot of that is more geared towards your general contractor. It's available to you if you need it, but I don't see how it's necessary for a cabinet shop. So you save that. You're going to have a view here like an Excel sheet. And this is going to extend as far to the side and as far down as you need. The header for each column is going to be your scope with a responsible party. In this case would be an employee. So you would add, say, panel processing, and then you would put, there would be a drop down of all of your employees, and you would select your CNC operator, for instance. Okay, and so every task that you type into this column is automatically going to be assigned to that responsible party. Okay, so when we click to add a task, keeping in mind we're under panel processing, and so you would just put Group A. There wouldn't be any dependent. This is the very beginning, and then a description if required. Okay, so then it'll bring us to here, and so this would be panel processing. Say this is edge banding, and say this is doweling and sorting. Okay, and then you would have a responsible party for each of those. Now, the way this chart works is this is going to build out your Gantt chart. Topsoil has to be done before create pad. Okay, so in panel processing has to be done before you can edge band. So this is going to be how you input all of the tasks required to complete the scope, required to complete the project. Now, adding tasks is very easy. So I know that I owned a cabinet shop for 15 years, and daily priorities would change, meaning that I would give my foreman a list of all the work that I needed done that day, and then I would get a phone call and it would completely be changed. That's really easy here because say you have an installer that was supposed to go to project A, but now he needs to go to project B. You can make all of those adjustments here very easily just by clicking the task and moving it to where it needs to go. And then now he'll be notified, hey, look, I need to do this instead of that. Okay, and I'll show how that works on the mobile app. So this is the project setup. Okay, now when you finish a project, go back. Let's go back to here, create a project. when you complete a project, that project's going to become a template. Okay, so I know that we did a lot of schools, and so we were doing the same processes over and over again. There's no reason to start from scratch, start a new project every single time if you're going to do a project that's similar. Okay, so like say we complete a school with 25 classrooms, and then we're starting another school with 20 classrooms. Well, instead of building it out from scratch, I can use a template where all of my scopes and tasks are already in there. I can review it, make some edits, assign my employees to each of the columns, to each of the scopes, and then launch the project and get after it. Every time you use a template, it's going to improve, because remember, the first time that we do it, all of our durations are going to be estimated. Well, once you complete that job, your durations are actual, okay? And so now when you use that template, you're starting with actual data, and which can be very useful for estimating future projects, because now you have a record of exactly how long each task took, broken down per workstation or scope. Okay, so let's look at the mobile version. So we've built all this out. Let me go back to here. So we have all this built. Okay. How does the data get input? So that's where the mobile app comes in. So every employee or subcontractor or vendor, like if you sub out your installation, for instance, they're all going to have a mobile app. A mobile app login. So when they open their app, the first thing that they're going to see is the task that's currently in progress, since it's automatic. And when they complete one, the next one's going to populate. But for employees, they have to check in before they can do anything. And what that does is it acts as a time clock. Okay? And so with my cabinet business, I always wanted to know how long each workstation took. How long did it take to process panels? How long did it take to edge band, and so on and so forth. I was never able to achieve that because that required my employees to go to a kiosk and input what they were doing as it changed. Okay? So the normal course of a day, they'd have to go to the kiosk at least 10 times because they were changing workstations, they were changing projects, and it was just too much to ask them to do and get their job done. Well, ProTech solves that problem because everything is built out over here by the project manager to get a good schedule. That same data is used over here to organize the time. So when they check in, they automatically are clocking in to the project and the scope of what they're working on. Okay? So when they complete that task, the next one populates, and the next one also has the project and the scope. So when you complete a project, or any time during the project as tasks are getting completed, you can go look at actual time per task, per scope, and per project. So and it's not just a single employee, it could be all of the employees. So let's take edge banding, for instance. I mean, it might take 2 to 5 people to do that efficiently. Well, all of those 5 people are going to be tasked with that edge banding. Okay, so all of their time is going to pool in together, and when that task is complete, then you'll have all that data. Yes, so that is how these tasks and hierarchies get to the field. Now let's look at reports. So during and after a project, you've got these reports. First is a quality report. So you've given your employee 12 tasks, 10 of them were accepted, and 2 of them were rejected. Now in the rejection, so this is going to be your shop foreman that's doing these accepting and rejecting. If it's rejected, you're going to have to include a reason why it was rejected. And so that's all going to be reported on later. as an employer, I would use this to focus my training. So why was this rejected? The description would be there. And when you've got some time, you can say, hey man, look, I see that you struggled buffing solid surface countertops. You had to go back and do it again. What do you need to know about that? So on and so forth. The next report is a timeliness report. And so you're going to have a forecasted time at the beginning of the project, how long you expect it to take. This is going to compare forecasted time to the actual time that it took. That's going to be recorded because your workers are inputting task completion data through the mobile app. This is for a cabinet shop. The greatest value here is future work because once you complete a project, you can go back and review it and see exactly how long each task took and use that to be more competitive on your next bid. Cost report doesn't really apply. This is mostly looking at change orders from the relationship of a subcontractor and a general contractor. I don't think a cabinet shop would have much value here. The custom report, this just opens up filters for every metric in the system, and anything that you want to see, you can see. Anything that you want to extract on a project level, on a scope level, on a task level, on an employee level, on a cost level, on a status, like pretty much any questions that you have can be answered through this custom report. And in the billing report could be useful for billing the general contractor that you're working for, because if you build out your project with a schedule of values that's accessible to the contractor, what this billing report is going to provide is a list of all of the completed and accepted tasks during a billing period. So you select the project and your time range, and then you can produce a report of all of the completed tasks during that time range, which can be used to add to your invoice to send to the general contractor that says, this is what I've completed, this is what I need to be paid for. That's kind of the most important things related specifically to a cabinet shop. All right, so in-house processes. So this is a tool that is designed only for your direct hires or employees. So subcontractors and vendors will not be able to view this. Direct hires and employees will be able to see this from the mobile version. So in the mobile version, if you go to more in-house processes, this is where they'll have access to that. Okay, and so what's going to happen when you build a new one, you can walk out into the shop or the field or in the office, and you can input information, pictures and videos, step by step in real time as you're doing the process. So we had, my background was cabinet shop, we had an edge bender. It was a very complex process to turn the edge bender on. And so what this will allow you to do is go and put, your process name is startup edge bender, and you can create your first task, turn on main power, description, turn on main power, and then there'll be an option here to upload, or there's a camera option. So you can click on this, which is going to open up the camera on your phone or your iPad or whatever you're building this process with. And it gives you the ability to video yourself actually pushing the correct button of the correct function, save it, input it, and that's task one. And so you can do that step by step throughout the entire process of turning on the edge bender, for instance. And when you're done, and you save that, what's going to happen on the mobile app is the worker will be able to come over here and select whatever the process is, and then they can scroll through, and they can start at the beginning, or they can scroll and get to the point where they're caught up. And then once they click on this, it's going to pull up the task name, the description, the videos, and the pictures and all the supporting data that they need to be successful. When they complete that task, they click. There'll be a button on the bottom that says Next, and it'll pull up the next task. And so that allows them to stand in the field or in the shop and follow a process step by step with pictures and videos, enabling them to execute a complicated process with perfection every single time. Okay, so that's the in-house process. And then from here, you can manage or edit your processes as needed. That pretty much wraps up the overview of what we've got so far. We're on track to launch in January. Very excited for what this is going to be able to bring into the construction industry. It's a huge problem that we hope to bring more accountability and insight into construction projects. So if you've made it this far, thank you. And if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Looking forward to hearing from you.